All right, everybody. There's no beating around the bush here. Kristaps Porzingis is back in the mix. We weren't planning on doing a podcast, but when KP has a surprise comeback on a Monday night, well, God damn it, you hop on the mic and you do a podcast. That's what we're doing today. It's Green with them. These Celtics got a big win tonight against the Clippers. We're going to talk about it in the return of Kristaps Porzingis. All that coming up next here on Green with Envy. Let's lock in. What up? What up? What up? Welcome into another edition of Green with Envy, a quote unquote emergency or maybe just unexpected, quote unquote unexpected Green with Envy post game podcast, as it is the return of Kristaps Porzingis, the man in the middle. Cookies and cream is back on the parquet. Celtics beat the Clippers tonight, 126-94. This is your boy Will. We are checking in. How you doing? How you living? Joining me tonight, as he does each and every time, my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, my man trying to do a little bit of flexing to match up with Kristaps Porzingis. It's my guy, Greg Manakis. Greg, how you feeling with KP back in the mix?
I didn't even have time to find my sleeves, bro. Didn't even have time to find my sleeves.
Did you just think of that, or you've been waiting for that one?
No, I just thought of it in the moment.
Okay,
fair enough. To me wearing a muscle shirt. Oh man, it's so nice to have Kristaps Porzingis back, man. The vibes were so good that on a Monday night with work tomorrow in office, I decided to crack open a beer and have a beer in the fourth quarter just because it just felt like one of those nights where everything's right in Celtics Nation. KP is back. Big Al's just resting there on the bench watching. I don't know if you caught when Peyton Pritchard hit one of his 3-point shots, one of his many 3-point shots tonight. They cut to Al Horford and he has the 3 fingers down. He just goes, "Pritch, please." It was my favorite moment of that.
I did not catch that, but I love that we're back to now. We get a surplus of bigs, right? Like I even accidentally tweeted out, I was like, looks like it's just Nemi and KP, and I immediately was like, what about Tillman? I was like, oh my god, we have so many bigs now. You know, I'm losing track of all the bigs that we have. But tonight was all about getting Kristaps Porzingis back on the court. So, you know, going backwards here to go forward, you know, KP injures himself in the finals, you know, struggles to get back for the finals. This is absolutely electric in game 1. Game 2 ends up getting injured, comes back, plays a little bit in game 5 in that close it out game. No way that he was going to not be on that court, as we found out later. And then has to get surgery. I believe June 27th is when he got his ankle surgery. And, you know, everything that we've known, all the details, the information that we've got was kind of saying like mid-December was about it. They left it open to like early December, but we were all kind of, you know, just thinking mid-December. Okay, take that with a grain of salt. Probably even January is what we're looking at. Come to find out, November 25th, Kristaps Porzingis makes his return to the court. Joe Mazzulla talked about in the pregame, and Brad Stevens, who joined the broadcast tonight, both of them talked about knowing that for about the last week or so, as long as he went through that scrimmage that where the main Celtics came up to Boston, Tillman joined them. Once he got through that, another scrimmage where he played about 30 plus minutes, that tonight was going to be the night that he returned. And the Garden was ready for it. Everybody everywhere was ready for Kristaps Porzingis. Here's his stat line from tonight, Greg. He ends up playing just under 23 minutes. This game was a blowout, so you know maybe he would have played a little bit more if it was close, but ends up playing just under 23 minutes. Goes 6 of 12 from the field, 1 of 6 from the 3-point line, 3 of 4 from the free throw line. Finishes with 16 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. But really, I don't have the numbers in front of me. We'll have to see what they are when they come out later. I'm sure it's something like 5 or 6, you know, shots affected or shots defended, however you want to label it. It was very clear that it felt different for the Clippers when they were driving in the lane, that there was a guy like Kristaps Porzingis back there, which is certainly a major area the Celtics have been missing, despite being, you know, 14-3 now, 15-3 early in the season.
Yeah, it was interesting at, the second quarter, Brad Stevens joined the broadcast team, and the Celtics ended up having like 12 threes in that second quarter and just played like the perfect quarter of offensive basketball.
Hold on, real quick. They scored 51 points in the second quarter. The Clippers had 48 points at halftime. So if the Celtics
Yep.
just didn't play offense in the first quarter, they still would have had a lead in this game. That's some wild shit.
That is some wild shit. So if you're listening tomorrow morning, you didn't get a chance to watch this game because life got too busy for you. You didn't realize Kristaps Porzingis was making his return. Make sure you go back and rewatch the second quarter because the second quarter was beautiful basketball. And it was just great hearing Brad Stevens on the broadcast team. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But one thing that he did mention was anytime the Clippers got a layup, because the defense, the first 6 minutes of that
This was
quarter,
my favorite part.
Brad Stevens was not happy. Go ahead. Tell
No,
about it.
every single time, he would just interrupt whatever he was saying, another layup. Just this utter level of disgust at the Clippers getting layups, and this leads into the point of, and this was mostly when Porzingis was not out there for parts of that second quarter stretch.
Right. And the Celtics end up on the night with 10 steals, 11 blocks, so 21 stocks on the game. The league leaders for stocks per game are the Oklahoma City Thunder, right around 19 per game. That's down from the 24 that they were at the beginning of the year. With Chet Holmgren down, you would expect that number to come down as well. But the Celtics, they're averaging 12 stocks without Kristaps Porzingis coming into this game. And tonight, 9 more stocks than normal. I think everybody was energized. Everybody was flying towards the basket. We're more able on the perimeter as well to just get up into the ball handler, not get worried about getting beat because you have Kristaps Porzingis there in the back line. And also you have Kata there in the back line. Kata was awesome tonight. He had 6 stocks
Really
of his
game.
own. So great night for Kata.
Yeah, and I think to your point, Greg, it makes me think back to I'm going to assume I think it was last year when Drew Holiday was on the Draymond Green podcast, and I think he was talking a little bit about like being that perimeter defender, and you're kind of out there by yourself, right? And there's a certain level of intensity and just kind of mindfulness you need to have. Whereas if you don't have, and I think he was at the time referring to playing in New Orleans with AD behind him, where it changes how aggressive you can be on ball, right? Because whatever happens, I got AD behind me out here. And he was kind of comparing that a little bit to what it was like playing with KP. And tonight was that first night where the Celtics had that back. And so I think that ultimately does help the perimeter defense, which has been part of probably the early season. And Brad Stevens was, saying what we've been saying a lot of, right? Is that he didn't say he wasn't worried, but he said it the same way that we have. You've seen it in spurts of, this defense is still there, but it hasn't been consistent. It's been there for moments. It's been there for quarters, but it hasn't been the same way. And that's what Brad was saying. That's the one thing he really wants from this team is to get back to having that defensive first mentality. The shots are going to be there. The process will be there. And I think tonight was step one in the Celtics getting back to being that top 5 level defense. They're right around. I didn't check the stats right before this, but I know before yesterday's game they were 9th in the league in defensive rating, so a little bit of slippage there. But I think with KP back, it's going to make a difference. So, Greg, just from how KP looked, how did you physically think he looked tonight?
Thought he looked great. He shot 6 3-pointers, only hit 1, which was his second 3 of the game.
Yeah.
I think he took the first 3 shots of the game, all 3-pointers. But I thought he looked great, man. He was getting to his spots. I know you tweeted out or skied out at one point, having Kristaps back at the nails, just like it's really nice to see. Because, early in the game, the reason why we get Kristaps at the nail, let me just kind of talk this through for the audience here, is early in the game, when you go back and watch Kristaps' early 3-point attempts, it's because they send 2 to the ball with the ball handler. So Jason Tatum comes off a high pick and roll. Kristaps, Big is in a drop, can't get back to Kristaps in time. So Tatum throws a behind the back pass to Kristaps, walk-in 3-point shot attempt. In the second half, the adjustment that the Clippers made is they just left that guard. They kind of like pushed the guard off to the big and then retreated back to Kristaps at the 3-point line, so he couldn't get a walk-in 3. The moment that happens, Kristaps just puts his head down and just goes right to the free throw line, right at the nail, and just posts up at the nail, right? And that's all you have to do when you have a 7'3" unicorn back into the game. Shout out to Liv Gunn, who said return of the unicorn here in the chat. Yeah, absolutely. Like having that level of of just uniqueness that you see at the center position when you have Al Horford, who can spread the floor. You have Kata and Cornette that can be big around the basket, but then you combine the best qualities of Al Horford with the best qualities of Cornette and Kata, and then you just like multiply that by 3, and you have Kristaps Porzingis. It's just not fair for the rest of the league. Like, I kind of forgot how great this team was with Porzingis until I was watching the game tonight. And I was like, this is just the best basketball. Like, how could anybody not like watching this team? They're just so much fun.
It's such a cheat code, right? And to your point, like those threes that even though he was 1 of 6 from 3, it was nice to see he's shooting them 3, 4, 5 feet beyond the line, right? And so once again, as he starts to make those, you're just spreading the defense even thinner. And you saw it a couple times in that second quarter, just driving lanes, just opening up. Like you're gonna have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown with these one-on-one matchups where there's no rim protection, and they just got to have a straight line, just hold their line directly to the basket, and there's either going to be nobody there or that team is going to be scrambling so hard that you're going to get these kickouts, and you're going to get, and it was nice to see Sam Hauser was back on track tonight. He was 3 of 3. You're going to see Peyton Pritchard, who's now, favorite for 6th man of the year. He had 6 threes tonight. You're Derek White, 5 of 9. You're going to see all of these kickouts, those hockey passes that lead to the next open shot. Like those are all going to become even more available than what this team was, and this team shooting over 53s a game, and a lot of those are mostly good shots. They're going to be even better shots now because Kristaps Porzingis is out there, whether it's off of him from the nail or it's off of him from that pick and pop that we see from distance. And it really is just an absolute cheat code. And this is without Al Horford too, right? Like Al Horford is the other guy that you plug into this here. And yeah, he's hugging the 3-point line a little bit more, but then you think about defensively when you need to go too big. And we've talked a little bit about this season, how the 2 big lineups have been pretty hit or miss, more so on the miss side. You get that KP Al lineup back for when you need it. And this team is just so weaponized with KP. Just a really, stark reminder to the rest of the NBA. This is the cheat code. This is what separates the Celtics from everybody else.
Yeah, and that's why I've been frustrated the first 17 games of the year, just like seeing the Twitter discourse where people talking about other teams having players out when they play the Celtics. Like we haven't had Kristaps Porzingis. We didn't have him in the playoffs last year. We had him for a handful of games, and everyone acts like, oh yeah, you played a bunch of teams that didn't have players that were healthy. It's like we weren't healthy. We were not a healthy team last year. We were missing.
I mean, yesterday we talked about Derek White being the big 3. Like last year, KP was very clearly the big 3, and you know what I mean. And that was the guy that was out for 90% of the playoff run, has been out for 100% of the games this year. And now yesterday we were just talking about, man, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Derek White. What a hell of a trio. And then bam, in our face as soon as Monday afternoon, after we talk about that, like, oh yeah, wait a minute. The other part of the big 3 is Kristaps Porzingis, and he's coming back now. So it's a big 4, it's a big 5, it's a big 6, sinister 6. I saw somebody put on one of our comments, which I really like that, the sinister 6, when you include Al Horford and Drew Holiday in there. It's whatever the hell you want to call it. This team is just unfairly loaded when everybody's healthy.
And I think we got to start bringing Peyton Pritchard into that number, though. Like we have 7 guys.
I mean, he's going to be 6th man of the year. He's the favorite right now.
Right. And I want to talk about Pritchard because I think there were a few times in the game tonight where it looked like the Celtics might be losing a little bit of momentum. And the thing that like exemplifies a 6th man of the year is that just like immediate injection of energy that you get the moment they come onto the court, where they play like the team almost takes on the identity of the 6th man as they enter the game, right? That's what, like, when you think of like the great 6 men throughout history, that's kind of what they do, right? When they come into the game, now the game kind of shapes around them. And I think that's what Peyton Pritchard and what the Celtics really haven't had in the past is a 6 man that can do it like that. Even when Brogdon, won 6th man of the year with the Celtics, it didn't take on the identity of Malcolm Brogdon, right? Like with the second unit, there were times where he played really well, but when Pritchard comes into the game, like we're flying up and down the court, 3-pointers. We're already shooting threes at a high clip. They're just flying with him and Sam Hauser coming off the bench. Derek White, Jason Tatum, and then Porzingis or whoever it's going to be at the 5. There's so many guys that can just come in and shoot the 3. And I love the way that Pritchard has just been, he's just been empowered to do what he does on the court. And it's just so nice to see him realize his full potential, and he's shooting off the catch. He's shooting corner threes. He's shooting switch pocket threes. He's shooting 30-footers. He's doing all these different things. And he's also becoming a real problem on the defensive end, which is something I really liked about him. His first year in the league, I was like, he reminds me, I'm saying again, he reminds me of Fred VanVleet. He reminds me of Kyle Lowry, just like those fire hydrant type point guards that you can't take into the post. And one of my favorite moments of the game tonight, if you missed it, go look. I'm sure you'll see it on Twitter. You'll see it on Blue Sky. Go find the clip of Kevin Porter Jr. trying to back down Peyton Pritchard in the post, getting frustrated, and then just throwing the ball out of bounds.
What the hell was that? That was so confusing as to like, what did you even like? I understand he was like, you were frustrated, but like, there's like very clearly nobody there, nor was it like, oh man, someone should have been there. When you throw it out to a corner and you're like, I don't know that, but he was just that frustrated. But something you said there that I think really stood out to me is kind of the versatility of Pritchard's 3-point shots, whether it's him coming off the dribble, which we saw him launch it from deep off the screen, right? Earlier in this game, we saw him in transition. He's clearly just catching, firing, whether he's dribbling or whether it's a outlet pass to him. He's either one dribble or just straight up pulling up right into it. We see him as the spacer, just in the corner or in the slot, depending on where the ball is. And so it's that versatility that I think when we look back at maybe last year and definitely the year before, we were like, all right, what is going to be Pritchard's role? Is he just going to be a spacer? Is he ready to handle the ball? Like, where is he going to be? And now the answer is wherever you need him to be, right? That's kind of Peyton Pritchard's, or one of his superpowers, right? Is being able to be so malleable that he could be your spacer. He could be your primary ball handler. He's certainly your buzzer beater guy, right? That's what you're looking for at the end of a quarter, end of a game. And just another monster night, 7 of 13 from the field, 6 of 10 from 3, added in 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 20 points off the bench. And, your point about the energy is just so true with him. It's a complete curveball to the energy that everyone else has too, right? Like it's another one of those. We going back to another quote from Joe Mazzulla last year, where he wanted to have different options, right? Different pitches that he could go to, different options in his tool belt. Peyton Pritchard's energy is different from anyone else's on the team. You can get energy from Jalen. Derek White's going to give you consistency. Tatum has his own vibe. Porzingis also has an, but the way Pritchard does it, and the way that the crowd is now responding off it as well, I think that's another igniter that makes home court advantage for the Celtics a difference as well.
Yeah, for sure. And there was just like so many great moments with the crowd tonight because the vibes were so high in the building, even with Kristaps.
Can you imagine if you bought these tickets like a long time ago and you're just like, it's a Monday night against the Clippers, and the Clippers, to be fair, by the way, the Clippers were coming into this game on a 5-game winning streak. Like, no Norm Powell, who's been really good for them this year. We know Kawhi's been out. But the Clippers have been playing really, really good basketball, and the Celtics just won by, over 30 points against this team. Like, that's not like an easy thing to do. And so just imagine if you're a fan, you bought these tickets or you have these tickets for a little bit. Like, we didn't know until this afternoon that Kristaps was coming back. Like, you're kind of like, yeah, whatever, this is probably okay. And then you get that, that Shams notification, or, shout out to our guy Cam. I think Cam was actually the one that had it from Celtics Lab, had it a little bit before Shams, I believe. So shout out to you, Cam, for having that locked in. But you see that notification, that changed everything for everybody that was going to that game tonight. And to your point, you're drinking a beer, you got no sleeves on. We're in Austin, Texas. That raised the level of everybody in that arena tonight. And of course, they did the KP dramatic entrance where I don't know if he was drinking some espresso on the way out or whatever he had in that cup on the way out, but ripped that shot, and then it was lights out from there for the Clippers, it felt like.
Kristaps is he brings such good vibes, man. He's winking at everybody. He's pointing at everybody. He's drinking espresso before the game. He's just so much fun. But there were so many great moments in this game, and I just wanted to give you a couple to choose from. So the Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, like, saved the ball to start the fast break thing that they did. When Peyton Pritchard,
when they saved it to each other, and then the nasty in and out crossover by Pritchard. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so Peyton Pritchard saves the ball. He's like tiptoeing along the baseline. Derek White then tiptoes towards Peyton Pritchard, who gets his feet back in bounds just in time as Derek White saves the ball back to Peyton Pritchard, who then hits two defenders, almost like Michael Vick, like making defenders run into each other. Left-handed in and out crossover, gets all the way into the paint, and then hits Porzingis for an alley-oop. Like, that was such a great play. Another Derek White moment where he saves the ball right by the Celtics bench, saves the ball to Keita, who gives the ball right back to Derek White. You expect Derek White to shoot that three-point shot, and then the most Derek White fashion just passes the ball to Keita wide open for a layup. Like, there were like all these moments in the game tonight that just made me feel good about watching Celtics basketball. But I think my favorite was just Drew Carter. Shout out to you, Drew. Very, very subtly referencing the Jaylen Brown, Kevin Porter beef, because Jaylen Brown is
I clocked that as well.
Kevin Porter's ex-girlfriend, the one that he was, kicked out of the league for, basically.
Put his hands on her,
yeah, former WNBA player. I can't pronounce her name. I'm not even going to try.
It's so hard, yeah.
But yeah, I'm not even going to try. But Jaylen takes KPJ into the post, finishes over him, and Drew just says, Jaylen Brown with a little extra for him, and then followed by 10 to 15 seconds of silence, where I really wonder what's going on in their headsets. Is that the producers just being like, hey, Drew, Scal, just don't even say anything. Like,
let it go.
We don't want to go there. Yeah, let it go. Let it go. We don't even want to address this right now, but it was great to hear Drew just bring that up, because I was waiting I was looking for people tweeting about it. I was, I'm sitting there like, when is this going to be referenced? I can't wait to talk about this on the pod. That was my favorite like storyline coming into this game was KPJ versus Jaylen Brown. Would they match up?
Well, I kind of forgot. I forgot about the bar that JB had in his song about it. Like, I learned how to touch her without my hands, or something like that. I think it was is the line, and I kind of forgot. I saw a few people on Twitter put it out there. It's like, oh, that, and this was after the Porzingis was like, oh, there's another level of intrigue to this game, and then it was just that little stretch, and then like you said, Drew dropped that, and I was like, he's aware, and to your point, I was wondering, because sometimes Scal's in the know. Sometimes Scal's in the know, and he's in the know more than you even think. And there's times Scal is just not in the know at all. Yeah. So, and I genuinely don't know in that particular moment which one the answer is to for Scal. But I did notice that from Drew Carter. So Drew, well done on that, sliding that in there very subtly. But yeah, this is a fun one, man. Fun Monday night game at the Garden. Yeah, anything else that you want to cover for this one? KP's back here. Big night from Pritchard. Jaylen and Jason, did their thing, filled up the stat sheet. Tatum finished with 20 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 17 points for Jaylen. I tweeted this out at halftime. Jaylen was shooting 28% from 3 on Sunday morning. Now it's Monday night. I don't know what his percentage is, but he's 10 of his last 17. I know as of before this game, it was up to about 33%. So that percentage has certainly gotten a boost in 2 games here for Jaylen Brown to get him closer back to that mid-30s level.
What is the new celebration that Jaylen Brown's doing? Is it like,
the one where he was like strapped up? I think he's strapped up. Maybe.
Okay.
Has he done that before? I noticed it tonight. I don't know if I've noticed him do that before, so I didn't know if that was a specific reference that I was much like Scal sometimes just wasn't in the know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I've seen him do. I mean, we watch every Celtics game. I don't think I've seen him do that too frequently. But there was one moment where he did that, and Al Horford did it on the bench as well. And Al Horford kind of like mimicked it to him. But then he did it after he hit a 3-point shot. So like, is he saying, at first I thought he did it because he was saying like, I'm strapping up defensively. I want to be defensive player of the year, or whatever his goals are. But then he did it after a 3-point shot. So maybe it's one of those celebrations that is rare and that you could do it on both sides of the court.
Multiple.
You know what I mean?
Maybe, possibly. Yeah. I only noticed that I think
he stays strapped up and he straps people up. You know what I mean?
It could be. Yeah, I'm going to keep an eye out for that one. I was going to mention one of my new favorite celebrations is the Derek White finding threes in his pocket. I really enjoy that. He had one today where towards the end, he kept looking around. Then like Sam Hauser and Pritchard got involved. And it was like, it felt almost, because it was going into a timeout, it felt almost like an NFL celebration where all of a sudden like the entire defense is running down and they're in this celebration together. So big fan of the Derek White.
I hope I see them at some point, like picking things like invisible things up off the ground and putting them back into Derek White's pockets. You know what I mean? I think that would be pretty great. But I was wondering, is it like he has a pocket full of threes, or is it that what I've been tweeting about for quite some time is he's hunting the switch pocket, which Brad Stevens actually talked about on the broadcast tonight. Is Derek White is just the master at hunting the switch pocket. So let me just explain what that means. Anytime there is a switch action where Derek White is anytime he's involved, most of the time it's happening when he's a ball handler. And there's this moment of communication between the two defenders that are involved in the switch, where they're either going to hedge hard to it, they're going to be in a deep drop, all the different ways that you can handle a switch. And there's that moment of hesitation where Derek White is waiting for the defenders to communicate and hesitate. And in that moment, he's kind of pulling back and shooting the 3-point shot. It's called hunting the switch pocket. Jason Tatum's doing it better. That 3 that you alluded to that Peyton Pritchard hit off the dribble, that was hunting the switch pocket. And I'm wondering, is Derek White just saying, I got a pocket full of threes, or is he saying like, I'm hunting the switch pocket and that's where my threes are coming from? Just wondering. I'm interested to see what comes out of this press conference.
Let's get Abby Chin on this. Abby Chin's gotta ask Derek White and find out what we got going on with the pocket 3 celebration. But I do enjoy that one. I like that one's becoming a recurring theme here as well. And of course, you always have the Tatum 3 kiss to the crowd as a great celebration.
Can I say something really quick?
Yeah,
I love that Jason Tatum does that. I used to do that in college all the time. That was my celebration. Playing pickup basketball.
Who are you blowing kisses to at the Plex? Who you throwing kisses to at the Plex?
When I was giving buckets to people at the Plex, my 3-point shot. So I did it like this though. So I would go, blow a kiss like that. So I didn't do it like Tatum does. How does Tatum do it? He goes. He does
it the German style, right? That's from Inglourious Bastards, where you have the correct German style of doing it or whatever.
Right, but I remember being the first person to do that. I just want to throw that out there.
What, Doug Flutie was D'ing you up, and then you hit him with a little 3 kiss?
Doug Flutie could never D me up, man. Doug Flutie is a great athlete. Doug Flutie is a great athlete, but we used to work him and his nephew Nate. We used to work them.
Oh man, well, hey, good times to the Plex. The Plex is a fun place to ball. I know Isaiah Thomas stopped by there, I think earlier this year. But yeah, shout out to the BC Plex. But that's going to do it for this episode here. This has been a really fun Green with Envy post-game. A couple of news and notes for you guys here. As a reminder, obviously, Thanksgiving holiday. Hope everybody enjoys their Thanksgiving. Enjoy your, if you're out celebrating on Wednesday night, Green Wednesday, if you like to imbibe, do your thing. Thursday is going to be great on Thanksgiving. And then Friday, if you guys aren't out shopping or if you're back from shopping, come lock in with us. We've got an NBA Cup post-game special. It's going to be me. It's going to be Greg. We're going to be on Bleacher Report app. We're going to be here on YouTube, on Twitter, on all of our socials. So make sure you guys are following us wherever you can. But with our friends at Bleacher Report, we will be doing a post-game. We'll know all the results, at least to that point, which I think Group C for the Celtics, we should know whether or not they are advancing. So we'll have all of that as the Hawks and Cavs will play earlier that day. So the Celtics will know by the time they play the Bulls. Is it winning they're in, or is it win, score a whole lot of points, and then you got to do some scoreboard watching the following Tuesday when the NBA Cup concludes. So we'll have that all broken down for you. So make sure you guys follow us there, as well as on Twitter. Follow us at Green MB Pod, my personal at Wilbon13, at Mini Minnow. You can follow us on Instagram at Green MB Pod, and then also Greg's mentioned a couple times, we're out there in the Skyverse, whatever we're calling it these days,
on TikTok.
Blue Sky. On TikTok as well. Make sure you come follow us. You want the best Joe Mazzulla quote video in the game. Make sure you're following us there. And of course, you can always catch us here on YouTube. But Greg, any final thoughts here before we send this off and then reconvene after our Thanksgiving holiday hangover?
I promise to have sleeves next episode.
You heard it from the man here. He will be sleeved up. Maybe he'll find those sleeves in his pockets. Maybe Derek White went in and took him away from Greg. We'll have to check that out. But appreciate you guys tuning in. KP is back. We'll be back on Friday after the Celtics Bulls in the NBA Cup. We will catch you guys later. Peace.
Missed free throw. Ford for the rebound. Here's Pritchard. He loves these. Puts it up half court of the buzzer.
Every time we get this high, I lose my mind. It don't take much no more until I hit the floor. Every time I get this high, it's you I find. It don't take much no more until I'm at your door. I'm coming to my core, baby. What can I say? You got me on the floor, you know I came to play. I know I shouldn't, but you seem to take my pain away. And every time I score, Jason Tatum fade away. I close my eyes and I'm floating in the river. I call to see if you
both. And you know I hope you deliver. Every time you getting close, I still be sick with the shivers. But there's nothing like that first time. I still remember the first time I saw you. You were looking so fine, chill like lo-fi, watch you go by. It was all I could do to say hi. I still remember the first time I saw you. You were looking so